The first cry, rain beat down on the rusted tin roof of a small house tucked between two mango trees in a sleepy village named Agondo. The night air smelled of wet earth and old secrets. Inside the dimly lit home, Ada groaned in pain, gripping the edge of a worn wooden bed. Sweat pooled on her brow as the midwife, Mom Nkechi, urged her on. "One more push, Ada. Just one more," and then it came, the piercing cry of new life. The baby's wails filled the room like a triumphant hymn. Ada collapsed back onto the bed, tears streaming down her face, not just of exhaustion, but of awe, of fear, and of overwhelming love. Her daughter, Amaka, was born in the darkest hour of the night. When even the stars held their breath, from that moment, Ada's life changed. What she once thought she understood about love, sacrifice, and identity would be reshaped by the winding, often brutal path of motherhood, milk and honeyed lies. Ada's husband, Chaik, was not a cruel man. But neither was he fully present. After Amaka's birth, Chaik grew distant. The weight of providing for a new mouth made him irritable. Nights found him in town drinking palm wine with friends, while Ada soothed Amaka through colic and fever. They had dreamed of having children, but dreams are soft-edged things, not hardened by the sleepless nights and constant worry that reality demands. Chaik became a shadow, his affection replaced by nods and mumbled words. Still, Ada pressed on. She learned to hush Amaka with rhythmic songs and gentle back pats. She sold Puff Puff by the roadside, her baby tied to her back with a faded wrapper. She laughed with the other women, but her eyes were always scanning, her heart always calculating how to make tomorrow less difficult, scars invisible. Amaka grew quickly. Her laughter was like birdsong, pure and uninhibited. But for every giggle, there were worries, about school fees, about medicine, about the ever-present hunger. Ada began working as a cleaner in a small private school. Every morning, she scrubbed floors while watching uniformed children march into classrooms. She dreamed of such a future for Amaka. The mothers of the school children wore polished shoes and perfume that lingered long after they left. Ada wore calloused hands and the scent of bleach. Sometimes, she'd pause in the hallway to listen to a lesson on Shakespeare or mathematics, storing the knowledge like stolen treasures. One day, Amaka asked, "Mama, why don't you rest? You always look tired." Ada smiled and replied, "Because I want you to be able to fly. And for you to fly, I must build your wings with my own bones if I have to." When love feels like hunger, Chaik lost his job during an economic downturn. He started drinking more heavily, and when he was home, his voice boomed like thunderclouds. Ada became both mother and father. She shielded Amaka from the worst of his outbursts, wrapping her daughter in the only safety she could offer, her presence. Food became scarcer. Some days, Ada went without eating so Amaka could have more. Her body weakened, but her resolve only hardened. She began sewing clothes late into the night for villagers. Using a second-hand machine gifted by a distant cousin, love, she realized, wasn't always gentle. Sometimes it was a clenched jaw, a sleepless night, an aching back, a lie told to a child so their heart wouldn't break. The cost of dreams. Amaka was accepted into a prestigious secondary school in the city. Ada wept with pride and fear. How would they afford it? Chaik scoffed at the idea, calling it foolish. "She's a girl. She will marry someday. Why waste so much?" Ada didn't reply. She sold her mother's gold earrings and part of the family land. She found a job as a house. house help in the city, working for a wealthy family, sleeping in a small storeroom. She saw Amaka on weekends, bringing her warm meals and cleaner uniforms. In secret, she taught herself to read English better, hoping one day she could apply for a better job. Pride wasn't in the titles she didn't have, it was in her daughter's report cards, her hunger to learn, silent battles, One evening, Ada walked into the family she worked for screaming at their maid for breaking a plate. The woman, barely older than Amaka, was sobbing. Ada intervened gently. That night, she wept herself, knowing how easily her daughter could have been that girl if not for sacrifice. There were nights Ada would lie awake, her body aching from endless chores, her heart breaking from missing milestones in Amaka's life. She carried guilt like a second skin, wondering if absence in love still counted as love. But when Amaka hugged her and said, "Mama, I want to be like you, strong and good," Ada's heart mended, just a little. The Phoenix years passed. Amaka graduated with top honors and earned a scholarship to university abroad. Ada flew for the first time to attend her graduation. Her hands shook as she clutched her passport, her eyes wide as she stepped into a foreign airport, when Amaka gave her valedictory speech. She began with, "To my mother, who wore her suffering like a crown, so I could wear hope like a robe." Ada wept, not just for what had been, but for what now was, the unseen crown. Back in Agondo, Ada lived simply. She had a small sewing shop. Women came to her not just for clothes, but for counsel. Her story became legend, not because she was perfect, but because she endured. When mothers spoke of her, they spoke with reverence. When daughters looked at her, they saw both the cost and the worth of their own mother's sacrifices. And when Ada passed on, her funeral was like a festival. Not of mourning, but of celebration. 4. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more.